What is going on YouTube? My name is Nevin the Barber, and in today's video we are going to be doing an overview on a mid-fade haircut. So we're going to start with our first initial guideline. I have my gamma trimmers right here, taking my first step right above my client's ear, dropping it right beneath his occipital bone. You never want to take your mid-fade above the occipital bone because it'll then be a high fade at that point. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, putting my first guideline about a ½ inch above my client's ear, dropping it right beneath the occipital bone in the back. With all of my fades, especially my mid fades and my high fades, I always like to drop them just a slight bit in the back. This just creates better contrast and fits the shape of the head a little better. And I am using my gamma trimmers to put in this first guideline with the modified P3 blade on them. If you guys do want to get this blade or these trimmers, you can go to the Gamma website. I'll be sure to include their link in the description. And you can also use my code NEVIN10 if you all would like to save some money on them. So as you guys can see, they're shredding through this bulk pretty easily. My client did have some pretty long hair. This is about a 2-month transformation right here. And so after we begin taking off all the bulk with my trimmers, I'll begin hitting it with my gamma shaver, just to ensure that it's all down to his skin. After we have everything balded out, we're going to begin with our first guideline with the number 1 guard all the way open. So to begin, I'm going to begin taking this first guideline up to the temple, flicking out right beneath the parietal ridge. And the majority of our fade is going to stay within this guideline right here. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. Take this first step about 1.5 inches. And then with my Oster fast feeds, I'm going to go with the lever all the way open and go right in the middle of that first guideline. Attack our bottom line, going up about ½ inch, being very consistent all the way through, as you guys can see, keeping my guideline midways from the previous one that we created. And after we have this guideline established, we'll begin hitting the ceiling of our guideline with the lever just a tad bit closed. And then we'll begin doing some more lever play, opening and closing the lever as we need to. And the more you close your lever, the shorter the hair is going to be cut. So you just have to shorten your cutting strokes the more you close the lever. And I do have these clippers right here zero gapped. So as you guys can see, I was able to knock out my bottom line pretty easily. We're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. We're first starting with the lever a tad bit closed, flicking to the top of our guideline. And then we're going to close it a little bit more and flick up halfways. As you guys can see, I'm using the corner of my blade, being very consistent. This guideline right here is very important because the majority of the fade happens from the 0 to the 1. So you need to be very consistent and detailed within this guideline and the following one. So after we have our 0 to the 0.5 blended out, I went back to my Andes T outliners just to flick out our bottom skin line and get the most blurry transition possible. So once that is all blended out, we'll begin with our next step. All the way open, so this is going to be cutting the hair at a short 1 guard length. And these clippers right here do have a 5 lever notch system on them. So as you guys can see, I'm closing the lever after I run through the hair each time. And every time I close the lever, I'm just shortening my cutting stroke just because the hair is being cut at a shorter length. And as you guys can see, my 0.5 is slowly starting to blend into the 1.5. And we're going to repeat the same exact steps on the other side. So right here I have my lever all the way open, flicking to the top of my guideline, just not passing it. I do use this system on all my fades. And one of the most important things when applying this method is just seeing how the hair is growing out of the scalp, going completely against the grain of the hair so it gets cut at the shortest length possible. And a lot of people have cowlicks in different spots in their head, so you just have to analyze the scalp before you cut it. So here I have my number 2 guard, and we're going to begin taking off some bulk just by cutting the hair with the grain. And what that means is I'm just cutting the hair the way that it grows out of the scalp. So after I knock down some of the bulk, I'm going to begin cutting the hair against the grain with the number 2 all the way open. And as you guys can see, our last guideline is slowly starting to fade into the bulk of the hair. So after we have everything blended to the 1.5, we just have to blend the 1.5 into the bulk of my client's hair. So I began with the 2 with the grain, the 2 against the grain, and now we're going with the number 1 guard with the grain. And to begin on the lineup, I'll start on my client with the number 1 guard all the way open. And right here, I'm just hitting his hairline with the grain of the hair just to knock down his hair and keep it in place when I line it up. When I begin the lineup, I always like to start in the middle, ensuring that I could get a straight line left to right, straight as possible without pushing my client back. And to box out my client, I'm going to try to create a 90-degree angle, again keeping it right at his natural hairline. One good tip when doing this is just look where the natural hairs are coming out of the scalp and just tap that line. As you guys can see, I'm just going over my lineup again, making sure I can get it crispy as possible. And we're gonna begin with the same steps on the other side of my client's lineup. To box him out, I'm gonna look where his natural hairline comes in. Again, creating a 90-degree angle box. We're just gonna tap that line. And same thing with the hooks. You wanna keep your hooks as natural as you can, but of course you want them to pop out too. So as you guys can see, I'm just tapping and pulling away from my client's hairline, just so I don't dig in and push anything back. And now to begin with my razor. Now, whenever doing a razor lineup, I personally think it's easiest if you lean your client back on the headrest. That way you can hit their hairline against the grain of the hair. And what this is going to do is just ensure that the hairline one is not only going to look as sharp as possible, but it'll leave your client's haircut lasting for a longer period of time as well. So as you guys can see, me just bringing my blade against my client's hairline. Same thing on the box, stretching out the skin. It's always very important to stretch out the skin whenever doing a lineup, just to ensure you can get the crispiest line possible. Here I am hitting my client's hairline with the grain, but after I do this, I flip it around and just start hitting it against the grain. I hit it with the grain first just so I could kind of put a guideline on where exactly I need to bring my blade into. But as you guys can see, once I hit his line up against the grain, it comes out much sharper. And to finish off this fade, I'm just putting in some details right here with my gamma shavers, ensuring that it's all the way down to skin length. Again, I always like to go back and detail my fade. Here I have my 0 guard on, just putting in some final details, cornering out any dark spots that I see. And it's always important to go back and double check your work. It literally only takes not even 5 minutes to perfect your fade and make sure your client leaves out with the cleanest cut possible. It's always very important to give your client the best service and haircut you can. That way you can increase your chances of retainment. And again, right here, me just taking this haircut to the next level, putting in some final details, hitting his hair with the grain wherever I see it. Again, finishing off this cut with my gamma shavers. If you guys would like to buy them, you can use my code NEVIN10 on the Gamma website. Same thing with the hitters. If you guys liked how these hitters cut, you can try them out. You can use my code NEVIN10. I do highly recommend them. I've tried quite a few trimmers, and these are my personal favorite trimmers right now. And right here, just simply putting in some final details with my Babyliss clippers. And there you guys have it. Here's the before. the 2-month wolf transformation. And there is your after. If you guys enjoyed this barber tutorial today, please be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe if you're new to my channel, and let me know what you guys want to see next. I'm out.